Hi, this is a small conversation on setting yourself up for success in class reading and in discussions. First thing to know, ideas do not happen in a vacuum. They are part of an ecology. So what that means is whatever text you're reading, whatever work it is, it's part of a set of ideas by an author. So who's the author? Go on Wikipedia, have a look at them, see if, or you Google them if they're more contemporary and they're not on Wikipedia. So who's the author? When are they writing? Where are they from? And who's the community they're writing to? Right? So who are they responding to? Who are they in dialogue with? What's that author known for? And how might that thing that they're known for show up in this particular work that you're reading? So use Wikipedia, use the internet to try to find out a little bit more about the author. It doesn't really take long, but it'll help you provide a context so the idea and the reading is not in a vacuum. Next, if they're a more contemporary author, they might have a video out there. Again, you can use YouTube or Google them to see if there are any videos out there. One of the nice things about the video is it gives you a sense of their tone, how they speak, the rhythm of how they speak. So when you're reading, you can sometimes have that in mind. You can have an ear for their voice and style. Also, you might find other videos or other material that they're working on, a lecture they more recently gave. So the reading that you're doing now might be slightly older, and then you found something they're working on now, and you can see a progression of their ideas, and that's kind of intriguing as well. Or it might be about the very reading that you're working on, and so this might be further explication. So remember that any text isn't in a vacuum. It's part of an ecology of ideas. The next is when you're reading, on each page, obviously the author is trying to make a series of points and marching through those points, right? So what I like to do is at the top of each page, I just say, what is the main point? I write what the main point of that particular page. So what that forces me to do is to condense a page's worth of ideas into what's the point? And then I can go back and look through the pages and see how they're threading that idea together. So never read the text, never read the essay just once. Read it, and then go back and just skim through to see how they're making their points and how those essay points thread together. Obviously, if you're reading a whole book rather than just an essay, you have to kind of play with the length of that idea of taking notes and how things are being threaded together. But this is really helpful, having those notes as an outline for an argument. So, ecology of ideas, noting how they thread an argument, and not just reading the essay once, but rereading by looking at your notes. And then thirdly is, what question is the author asking? So an author isn't just writing something to write it. They're after something. They have a question they're pursuing, and they're trying to explicate. So what is that question? And of course, how do they answer it? And then in return, what question would you ask the author? So sometimes you'll see at university campuses, people give lectures, and afterwards there's a question and answer period. Imagine that this essay that you're reading is an author giving a lecture. Now, in response to that lecture, what are you going to ask them? By doing that, by having that sort of what are they asking, how are they solving it, and what are you going to ask them, you start to establish a dialogue. So now you're part of a scholarly discourse community. You're part of a conversation. And whatever you end up writing in your class or whatever you end up saying in your classroom discussion is part of a scholarly conversation. Then the next thing you can do is to think about their style. So you finish the essay and you can ask yourself, was that hard to read or was it easy, and why? The why is obviously quite important. Were they clear on their ideas, or were they using obscure language, easy to understand language? Did they provide good examples, no examples, or were their examples just more confusing? And then, is it a clearly outlined argument, or are they saying, okay, I'm going to start with this point and I'll move on, or maybe they have subheadings? Is it clearly outlined, or is it kind of meandering and you're not quite sure where the author's ideas are going? So think about their style and how they're presenting. That's for the text. And then think about that essay or that text within the classroom. So remember, if there's an idea isn't in a vacuum, text isn't in a vacuum, it's part of an ecology. It's also within the ecology of your particular course. So where does it fit in the course? Is it providing introductory material? Is it further along towards, developing ideas for the course? Is it toward the end? And where does it fit in the kind of string of ideas for that classroom? And you can ask, in fact, the professor, either the first day of class or the day that you're working on the text, what made you, professor, select that particular text? What was compelling about it, and how do you see it fitting within this particular course? How is it in conversation with other things we've been reading? So the text you're reading is part of an ecology for the author and his discourse community. But it's also part of an ecology for you and your classmates in that particular course and your scholarly discourse community. And then the final thing I would say is, if you get a chance, I highly recommend reading something by the professor for whom you're taking the class. Chances are they are thinking along particular lines that connect with the topic of the class. That's why they're teaching it. And often professors construct a class as an argument or as a series of laboratory thought experiments that they're working through or want to work through with you. So if you read something by that professor, you'll begin to understand where they're coming from and where their ideas might resonate with the materials that have been selected for the class. So just as an overview, think of the every text as fitting within a series of ecologies. Ecology of the author, and then the ecology of the classroom. Hopefully this helps you with your readings and with future class conversations.